You've probably seen a dragonfly dart across a pond and thought nothing of it, just a bug, maybe a pretty one. But what you actually watched was the most efficient killer in the entire animal kingdom, and almost nobody talks about it. This video is about the dragonfly, and yeah, I know that sounds like a strange thing to get excited about, but stick with me here, because by the end of this, you're going to look at that little hovering insect completely differently. Most people know the 95% stat, that dragonflies catch 95% of everything they hunt, but almost nobody knows why, or how genuinely strange the explanation is. We're going to go through the real science behind it, including a few things that researchers only discovered in the last decade or so, and a couple that honestly sound made up until you see the source. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is how the dragonfly actually moves in on its prey, because this is where it starts getting weird. Most predators rely on speed or surprise. They either outrun something or they hide and wait. The dragonfly does neither of those things, at least not in the way you'd expect. It uses something called motion camouflage, and the way it works is genuinely hard to believe. As it closes in on prey, it flies in a way that keeps itself perfectly aligned with a fixed point in its target's visual field. So from the prey's perspective, the dragonfly doesn't appear to be moving at all. It looks like a stationary object in the background, a leaf, a speck of light, nothing threatening, while it's actually flying toward them at full speed. The prey never registers an approach because, to their visual system, nothing is approaching. Scientists confirm that this technique is shared with exactly one other animal in nature, the peregrine falcon. That's it. One of the fastest birds on the planet and a bug the size of your thumb are using the same stealth system. And the dragonfly has been doing it for roughly 300 million years. But here's where it gets even stranger. All of that, the tracking, the targeting, the real-time flight adjustments, the interception calculation, runs on 16 neurons. Not 16 million, not 16,000. 16 individual neurons connecting the brain to the wing motors. This was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and when researchers mapped out the circuit, they were genuinely baffled by how much it does. It tracks prey across a full 360 degrees. It adjusts mid-flight in real time. It calculates where the prey will be, not where it is, and flies to that future point. Your smartphone uses billions of transistors to run apps and still can't do what this insect does with 16 cells. Harvard researchers studying dragonfly flight mechanics concluded that no human-engineered robot has successfully replicated this aerial interception system. The most advanced military drone programs in the world are actively trying to copy it, and they're failing. So you've got an insect that's invisible while moving and runs its entire hunt on 16 neurons. That's already a lot. But if you stop there, you're missing what might be the most tactically impressive part. The dragonfly doesn't just close in on prey. It positions itself at a specific angle before it strikes, directly below the target, at about 30 degrees. And that's not a coincidence. That is the exact blind spot of almost every flying insect. The dragonfly calculates this position deliberately, before every single hunt, and approaches from the one angle where its prey literally cannot see it. By the time it strikes upward with its legs, the prey has no idea anything was even there. The hunt was over before it started. Now, you might be wondering how a dragonfly even picks a single target in the first place. If you've ever watched them hunt near a pond, they're flying through clouds of insects, hundreds, sometimes thousands of other bugs in the air at once. So how does it lock onto one? In 2012, researchers at the University of Adelaide found something that had never been documented in any invertebrate before. The dragonfly has brain cells for selective attention. The same cognitive function that lets you focus on one conversation in a loud room. That was considered a primate thing, something mammals do, until they found it in a dragonfly. What it means in practice is that when a dragonfly flies into a swarm of 1,000 insects, it sees one. Everything else gets filtered out. It picks a target, locks on, and the rest of the swarm essentially disappears from its perception. A UC Davis biologist described the 95% kill rate as wildly high compared to where most predators are. Lions catch about 25% of what they hunt. Great white sharks are somewhere around 55%. The dragonfly is at 95%, and now you're starting to understand why. And if you think that's the full picture, it's not. Because none of this even accounts for what the dragonfly is doing before it ever leaves the water. Dragonfly larvae live underwater for up to 4 years before they emerge as adults. And they're not just sitting there, they're hunting. They have three completely separate hunting strategies depending on the species. Some stalk prey through underwater plants the way a cat moves through tall grass. Some bury themselves in mud with only their eyes above the surface and ambush anything that passes. Some use camouflage markings to blend into the riverbed and lie completely motionless until something gets close enough. This is an animal that perfected predatory hunting in two entirely different environments, underwater and in the air, using different techniques in each one. And there are documented cases of adult dragonflies catching and eating small birds. Not insects, birds. The Natural History Museum confirmed it. A creature the size of your finger taking down a vertebrate mid-flight. Scientists have described them as an airborne terror for anything that flies in their territory. If you're finding this as wild as I did when I first went down this rabbit hole, drop a comment with what surprised you most so far. Genuinely curious what's landing for people. And if you want more videos like this one, the subscribe button is right there. We do this kind of thing a lot. Now here's the part that I think is the most underrated thing about dragonflies, and almost nobody talks about it. One species called the globe skimmer migrates across the Indian Ocean. That's 3,730 miles of open water. No land, no stopping. Scientists calculated it stays airborne for over a week without landing, riding seasonal trade winds at high altitude. And it's not alone up there. Birds like the Amur falcon are believed to follow the exact same migration route specifically to eat dragonflies mid-flight over the ocean. Think about that. The dragonfly that was hunting mosquitoes in your garden last summer may have crossed an ocean to get there. But the migration story gets stranger. The full migratory circuit covers somewhere between 14,000 and 18,000 kilometers. And no single dragonfly ever completes it. The one that leaves never comes back. Its offspring continue the journey, and their offspring after that. Scientists call it relay migration. The dragonfly that arrives at the destination is the grandchild of the one that left. And they navigate a route they have never traveled, that no one in their lineage has ever shown them, entirely by instinct. The directions are built in. A journey that takes multiple generations to complete, run on inherited knowledge with no teacher and no map. Harvard biologist Stacy Combs published a study in Nature finding that the mid-flight calculations a dragonfly performs during a single hunt are as complex as those made by a ballet dancer during choreography. That was the first time that level of predictive computation had ever been documented in an invertebrate. Real-time physics, trajectory prediction, micro-adjustments happening faster than any conscious thought, every single hunt. So let's bring this together because I want you to feel the full weight of what we just went through. This is an insect that becomes invisible while moving. It runs its entire targeting system on 16 neurons. It attacks from the one angle its prey can't see, every time, by design. It has selective attention, a cognitive ability that was supposed to belong only to primates. Its larvae hunt using 3 different strategies underwater before the adult stage even begins. It's been documented killing birds. It crosses oceans, its migration spans generations. And no robot ever built has successfully replicated what it does in the air. At the start of this video, a dragonfly was probably just a bug you'd seen near water. And now you know it's the most effective predator on the planet, running on hardware so minimal and so elegant that the best engineers in the world can't copy it. That's not an exaggeration. That's the actual conclusion from the researchers studying it. If you want to keep going, I'd really recommend watching the video on the mantaddy longleg next, another animal where the biology sounds completely made up until you see the science. It's linked right up here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time, because this is exactly the kind of thing we cover. See you in the next one.